Yeah, and that's super interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Yeah.
Talk about niche.
Yeah.
But 6 inches under the water. I couldn't do that.
I know, terrify me.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Each day at Wesley Meadows is a new opportunity to serve older adults and reimagine retirement living. It is the heart of their mission that inspires their team to provide the kind of fun atmosphere and care residents would want for themselves. Experience the warm spirit and faith-based difference of Wesley Meadows. Call 662-429-2070 and schedule your visit today. Hello and welcome to the Real Hernando, presented to you by Wesley Meadows Retirement Community and SRP Studios, a digital content production agency. This podcast spotlights Hernando's organizations and community leaders by sharing their stories and what led them to serve the community. The Real Hernando is also currently seeking new business sponsors to partner with, which will help support the growth of this platform, and doing so, create a brighter spotlight on Hernando as a whole. We spotlight and give free publicity to our organizations, leaders, ministries, churches. So if you want to get behind that and help support that, we would love to have you. Go to the description area, find that sponsor form link, and give us your contact info, and I'll get back to you. Also, you can go to therealhernando.com to find us on all major podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm your host, Derek, and today we are spotlighting the Hernando Rotary Club. Some brief information on the club here. The Rotary Club of Hernando was chartered on October 7th in 1936, making it the oldest service organization in Desoto County. Other activities the organization is involved with include providing graduating high school seniors with scholarships through its Leonard Vaiden Scholarship program, funding for water wells in Honduras via Living Waters Honduras Mission, acting as the charter organization for Boy Scout Troop 41 and Cub Scout Pack 41 for the last 70 years. Today, joining me is the Rotary's new president, Jeremy Hurst.
Thanks for having me, Derek. And
Yes, sir.
Thank you for allowing me to come on and speak on behalf of Rotary and highlight a club that I'm obviously passionate about. And I think that does a lot of good work that people in Hernando, DeSoto County maybe aren't aware of. So thank you for allowing me to come on and highlight this great organization.
My pleasure. And that's the whole mission behind this podcast, is to shed some light on everyone knows, they've heard Rotary Club.
Yeah.
But where, when, why, what is it really? What does it do? And I've had the fortune to be there a couple times. That's how we met originally. Our friend Kylie Collins, who was a member there, invited me to be a speaker. So I got to stand up at the podium in front of y'all for about 10 minutes. I think that's the day you and I actually met.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to highlight the Rotary Club for some time. I originally reached out to Will Brown.
Okay.
Because he was the president at that time.
Yeah.
And then he mentioned that it was changing hands. So,
okay.
Real quick, when did you take over the presidency?
So it runs from July to July. And Will, I'll just give Will a shout out. He was a phenomenal president. He did a lot of great things. We've had a lot of great presidents. We've got really awesome membership, real pillars of the community. So we haven't had a bad president. Will did a lot for the organization as far as building infrastructure back in, building a succession plan in, which is kind of how I became president. So they were looking for folks Rotarians that hadn't been president yet. And I think Will and I and maybe a few more were the only people in the room that hadn't served at least one term as president. And so I told Will, if you will be president next year, then I'll be the president-elect, so I'll follow you. And Will has some really big shoes to fill. So maybe I overspoke when I said I would follow him. Maybe I should have gone first. But yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up in the president position.
Oh, so that was pre-planned.
Pre-planned, yeah.
You planned to be the successor.
I did, yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you guys were looking around like, I guess it's our turn.
Yeah. If somebody's been president 2-3 times, it's really hard and not fair to ask them to do it again.
Yeah.
So luckily Will stepped up and then that kind of encouraged me to step up too.
Awesome. Well, I want to break into, obviously what this club does.
Yeah.
And who it serves and how it operates. and how people can get involved with sponsoring, volunteering, donating.
Sure.
All the good stuff. We got to talk about the Vaiden program scholarships, but let's learn a little bit about Jeremy. So where are you from?
So I am from a town called El Dorado, Arkansas, which is funny because it's, spelled El Dorado, N-A-R. Most people think it's El Dorado, Arizona. But we say it funny because we talk funny in Arkansas. So it's actually pronounced El Dorado. It's in the bottom of the state, 10 miles from the Louisiana line, equidistant between Mississippi and Texas. Pine trees, oil production, chemical plants. It's just kind of what it is. So I moved here in 2018. My wife and I did, and got the transfer with the bank. And I think my first week here, maybe even my second or third day, Alan Sims, who is the a past Rotary president, but also our former market president at the bank, invited me to Rotary.
And that's Southern Bancorp.
At Southern Bancorp, yeah. And I was familiar with Rotary, and I was actually president of the Civic Club back home before I moved here. But Rotary was kind of always a standard bearer for clubs like that. And really the who's who in the community were Rotarians. And not just Rotarians that went to meetings, but actually participated in the organization and in the city. Mm-hmm. So when he invited me, being a new kid in town, not from here, I kind of thought to myself, what better way to start networking than to go to a Rotary meeting? Well, it also happened on the way there. Alan mentioned Derek Biglane, which is Mr. Hernando, which I didn't know that at the time. But he said you need to meet Derek. Derek is a member of another organization called the Crew, and Derek's actually one of the founding members. And that was another great move, meeting Derek, getting into the Crew.
So you're a member of the Crew?
Yeah, so you got to meet so many people. Derek actually is my Sunday school teacher. So it was just kind of serendipitous, I guess, going to the Rotary meeting that Wednesday with Alan. So we meet every Wednesday at noon at the Jim Anderson Library here in Hernando on the second floor. Just kind of plug that. So that's how I ended up here. That's where I'm from. And Will Brown being president, I said I would follow his lead and be president-elect. So here we are.
Here we are.
I'm a month into it.
Throwing you in front of the cameras.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the role of the president. What are, I know you're new, but we're putting you under the spotlight here, but what is expected of the president?
That's a great question. I think I'm still learning a little bit.
And please.
Yeah.
I'm being nice here. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Sure.
We just announced you're the new president.
Yeah.
But this is a good opportunity for you to talk about what you feel your role will be.
You're really kind of, I guess, like the chief admin officer and the chief communicator. That's really what you're doing. You're organizing meetings. So every week we have a program, and we go in alphabetical order. So each Rotarian is responsible for what we call a program, which is essentially just having, like you did, having a speaker come in and present. Mm-hmm. And we typically like to focus on nonprofits because that really aligns with our mission, or organizations that deal with uplifting children, right? So, or new organizations in town. So that's really what the role of president is to make sure the program is going each Wednesday, to make sure the members that have upcoming programs realize that they have upcoming programs. And if there's a change of venue, which happens from time to time, you're responsible for that or communicating that. And
you also have lunch there.
We have lunch. So we have committees, thank God. And we have a food committee.
Yeah.
Zach Walker, that is on the first floor, is actually on that committee. So they're responsible for getting. So if you don't like the food, it's their fault. They're responsible for getting it in and setting up every week. Zachary
Walker, who works for Edward Jones, his office is below us as we're sitting recording this right now.
Yeah, so I would say that's probably kind of the key is you're the chief communicator and organizer.
Yeah.
And then probably going to learn a lot more of what the presidency entails as the next 11 months wane on.
1,000 emails from now, I'd be like, oh, wow, there's an extra amount of work here. But good for you. And that's great. And I'm very young in terms of being someone that really jumps in to a community. And I'm just starting this year on the Arts Council board along with Derek. So I've briefly met Derek now. Okay. I'm sure I met him at the Rotary in my 2 visits, just didn't remember. So I'm sure I have.
It's a little overwhelming for a presenter sometimes.
Yeah. The first time I came in, Kylie Collins, another member who's also the Arts Council director, way back when she invited me as a guest, and John Hornsby was the speaker for Hernando Meals and Wheels, and I remember like I got to get him on the podcast, and a few months later finally made that happen. But without someone inviting me into the club and then me being able to witness, a nonprofit speak, that it just makes a nice connection that way. I'm not trying to pat myself in the back here as I say these things, but I'm on the chamber board as well. Okay. The point is, you learn so much. Yeah. When you dive in at that level, absolutely. I'm just board member here. No leadership or executive branch for me right now, but it's eye opening, and how much a lot of stuff and thought goes into charities, events. Yeah. And then you firsthand witness businesses get behind support with sponsoring. It's pretty good. Yeah. So tell us, like, what's a typical meeting like? So now, I know you guys spin a wheel. Yeah. And you
the
get
wheel of death.
The bill. You pay $1 if you missed a day or something. Just
yeah. So the format it's like church. It's pretty much the same thing every Wednesday, right? So we come in, visit. Sometimes we'll have a board meeting 30 minutes beforehand, or like Derek heads up our Brewfest committee, which we can get into in a little bit what Brewfest is. Yeah. And so they usually meet about 30 minutes beforehand, and everybody shows up around noon and kind of have a buffet set up. So you get your food, sit down, visit for 15, 20 minutes. At that point, the president gets up, rings the bell, and then there's a format we go through. And one of those is wheel spinner. So if you miss the previous week's meeting, you have to come up the next week. Unless you bring a guest, then you're exempt. But you come up, spin a wheel. We have this big wooden wheel. I don't know how old it is. It looks ancient, but
it's old school Price is Right level.
Very much so. Wheel. It's like Price is Right meets Wheel of Fortune, and it's got numbers on it. So whatever number you land on, and 0 is a number, so you could get a 0. But I think the highest it goes up to is 5. So whatever you land on, you pay our treasurer your kind of penance for missing the previous week.
All right, but then it goes into an account that's just for the club anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a neat, fun way. The 2 times I've seen it, it's a fun moment. Yeah. You all are having fun with it.
Yeah, and it's not viewed as punitive necessarily. It's just kind of a fun, traditional thing that I think they've done forever. And then after that, go through our business items, and then we do a prayer and a pledge every week. And whoever has the program that week comes up, introduces their guest. They actually do the prayer and pledge. So they introduce their guest. We have the program. And then the president comes back up. We also have a question of the week. I left that out. That's usually before the wheel spin. So whoever has the question that week, it's because they were the furthest off from the answer the previous week. And it's always a numerical answer.
Oh, that way you can really judge.
Yeah. So you have a closest, and then you have the biggest loser, right? So they have to bring the question the next week. So they ask the question, and then at the end of the meeting, after the program, president comes back up, and the program host or whoever gave the program, we also buy raffle tickets at the beginning of the meeting that goes into a pot, and they actually pull the ticket to see who gets to draw from a deck of cards. So we have a specific card. Right now it's 8 of diamonds. If you pull 8 of diamonds, you win half the pot. Club keeps the other half. So it could be a tiny pot, or it could take, 52 cards in the deck? I mean, it could take a year, and the pot could get pretty big. So it's kind of just a way to keep it fun. And then after that, what do we do after that?
You reveal the answer, right?
Reveal the answer to the question, and then if there's anything else anybody needs to talk about, we talk about, and then we dismiss with our 2 mottos.
And those are?
Those are service above self, which I think was the original motto. And then there's a second one, he profits most who serves best. So one thing about Rotary, there's a recurring theme of service. I mean, obviously it's a service industry, but we really try to put our money where our mouth is, literally sometimes, but then also with actions. So it's if you don't have a servant's heart, Rotary might not necessarily be the place for you because it's very service oriented.
Yeah, it's a neat way. All of these organizations are also great ways to network with people.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're meeting people, which can then in turn grow your business. You know, that's a big part of, especially being on a chamber of commerce or joining a Rotary Club. But the Rotary Club is not like going to a BNI meeting. Yeah. You're not deliberately forcing business cards on people and giving your elevator pitch to everybody.
Yeah.
It's there to serve.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very forward.
Yeah. It is definitely a networking organization, right? I mean, that's why I mentioned why I went. I was new in town. I didn't know anybody. I thought that would be a great place to network and meet people. So there definitely is a component of networking. I'm not going to try to gloss over that. But if you become an active Rotarian, you also see that there's a service piece to it. And there's a little bit of an expectation that if you're gonna be in this organization, you really need to have a servant's heart, because that's what we're here to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get a room full of people like that, you can get a lot done.
Absolutely.
A lot accomplished.
Absolutely. The other cool thing about it is, we mentioned the programs, and again, being a newbie, I learned a whole lot about Hernando and Desoto County just from having program speakers come in and talk about what they do, or we've had supervisors come in and talk about what's going on in the county. We've had just a vast array of folks come in, and again, it's a great way to learn about what's going on and who these organizations are, who's a part of them, what's driving them, what their mission is, why they do what they do. And, through that, you could find a nonprofit organization that maybe you weren't aware of that you also want to donate your time or money to. And so it's a great platform for folks to come in and talk about what's going on in the county and engage with people. You
even let a goofball podcaster up.
Right, yeah. Actually have a buddy. I serve on the Desoto County Search and Rescue Unit, which is an all-volunteer unit. And my buddy that got me in has a really cool job. So he works on the Mississippi River doing salvage jobs. And I don't want to talk about it because I'll totally ruin what it is exactly he does, because it's way more than I know. But he dives, and he dives to the bottom of the river. And so he says, once you reach 6 inches under the surface of the river, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And so he brings this real cool diving equipment in. It's like this old school, metal diver helmet and all of his equipment. He's talking about kind of what a day looks like in the life of what he does. And so anyway, it's just really, really interesting. So you have that component too. You may have somebody come in that talks about a job that maybe you didn't even know exists that people that live here in Hernando do.
Yeah, and that's super interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Yeah.
Talk about niche.
Yeah.
But 6 inches under the water. I couldn't do that.
I know, it'd terrify me.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I get more and more freaked out by the ocean. Like, I'm from Maine, as you remembered. And, I love the ocean. I love going to the beach. And we're way off topic here. But so I always make a plan to get up to my knees or go to the beach and, and walk into the ocean. But, when you see these videos of these big tanker ships out in the middle of the Atlantic, with these massive waves, I'm like, that is just a world I don't want to be in.
Absolutely, man. It's terrifying, right?
Big time.
Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go but in the water.
Yeah, and we all know what can happen in those waters, too.
Team Couch of Birch Realty Group is a full-service team of realtors specializing in real estate sales. With over 900 transactions alone in the past 5 years, their experience is your best asset. Go to teamcouch.com or call 662-449-1700.
5M Services, your comfort specialists. We offer heating, ventilating, and air conditioning service. Call us for any of your HVAC needs. 662-560-7331. We are here for you 24/7. You mentioned Brewfest. Yeah. I'm interested in this too, because as I was on your Facebook page, that's the website that you have on your page.
Yeah.
So clearly, is this an event that's specific to Rotary and what they put on?
Yeah, and I apologize. I don't know the historical details of when the first Brewfest was, but it is an absolutely cool event. This year it's October 20th, which is a Friday. We've had it at Jim C's Courtyard. Every year we've had it, I believe. This year we're going to try to actually block off Panola Street like they did for Mudbug Bash. Mm-hmm. We haven't gotten the final approval for that yet. But what we do, we have brewers from the microbreweries in Memphis come down. So I think last year we had Ghost River, Crosstown, Lost 40. And then the distributor we work with had folks come in too. So we also offered Southern Prohibition, Lazy Magnolia, and I forget the rest of them. But not only they come set up, but they talk about their different beer types and what makes a Kolsch a Kolsch, what makes a lager, and what the profile for this specific brew is. So it's not just you're coming in grabbing beer out of an ice chest. It can be a learning experience too. But we've been really lucky the last few years with perfect fall weather. We usually have an acoustic setup in the corner. So it's a great night out, great date night out. Mm-hmm. We have food set up. And I guess it has been our biggest fundraiser, maybe until the golf tournament, which I'll get into in a minute. And we're raising funds to donate to the water wells in Honduras you mentioned earlier. And one of our Rotarians actually started that, Dr. Robert Seymour. I believe he was on a fishing trip down there and met somebody, or maybe a fishing trip, or he was doing dental work. I can't remember which one it was, but he met somebody, and I guess they had this idea, and so they started this water well program. We take for granted clean water and sanitation in this country,
Big
right?
time.
You don't even think about it. You turn your tap on, drink out of it. It's not even a thought.
I have to call myself out when I get upset about how the ice bunches in my freezer.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like
First
oh my
world
God, all my
problems.
ice is bunched up.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
So the water deal is just so easy. It's so second nature. to us.
Absolutely.
Just turn on a shower. There it is.
Like diseases we don't even think about because we have sanitation and sewage. And so anyway, Brewfest, the funds we raise for that goes to the water wells in Honduras.
So, and how does the Brewfest work? You buy a ticket to get in, or is it you're raising the funds by, I don't know. Well, I guess
it's through ticket sales.
You do have tickets.
Yeah.
How much is the ticket?
I don't think we've settled on a price quite yet this year.
Right.
I think they've been, I don't even want to say
Sure.
because
We don't have to do that.
I can't remember. It's terrible that I don't know that. But it's a deal if you buy two versus one.
Gotcha.
And so, you buy a ticket, that's what funds. So we obviously have a cost, so we offset our costs, and the profit over that goes to the water wells.
And how can a beer company join? How can they be a part of it?
That's a great question.
Are they volunteering their time to be there?
They are, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And their own little booth, and they just
Have their own
show up
little-
and they set up however they want.
Yeah.
And are they selling?
No, they're not. They're not selling.
So they're giving samples too.
Yeah. So you're when you present your ticket, you get a small, I forgot how many ounce cup. It's not like a full serving. Or we sell Brewfest logoed mugs, which you can get more in your mug than you can in the
and it's
cup.
an upcharge, right? It's upper tier.
Another fundraising opportunity.
Yep.
And you just go around to the different stations, and they'll pour you a cup and just kind of mingle and go around. But that's included, so you're not actually having to buy anything once you walk into the venue.
Well, it's awesome for the vendors to donate to.
Yeah.
They must see it as a valuable way to market and just get their name out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if they're based in Memphis.
Yeah.
Coming down Hernando.
And this is terrible. I'm not sure if they 100% volunteer or if that's a cost to us. But the fact that they're willing to come to Hernando and set up and take the time to not only distribute their product, but to talk about it. Because, a lot of people in that space are very passionate about what they do, right? I mean, you're talking about a form of art, brewing beer. So
microbrewers, man.
Yeah, anytime you're passionate about something, you get the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's great. So they come down and the setups are wonderful. A lot of times they'll have their own tablecloths and swag that they give out. So koozies, stickers, you name it.
And how long does this usually go for? A couple hours?
Couple hours, yeah.
And you're going to try to get on Panola Street?
Going to try to get on Panola Street
that
this year.
That would be
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I think we're waiting to hear back. If we get one more brewer, I think we're going to try to set up on Panola.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Where were you set up last year?
So Jim C's Courtyard, which is on Panola Street. So if you're going south, it would be on your right. Mm-hmm. It's got the red brick wall, which is an awesome space. So we would still utilize that space this year.
But now you're growing up the street.
Yeah, but I think it would be more like maybe that's where the food and the entertainment would be, or we haven't figured the logistics out. But we would still utilize that space. And Jim and Rita have been great, working with them for that space.
And what's the date on that one more time?
It's October 20th, which is a Friday.
Okay, cool. I'm going to have to check that out. I want to definitely hit on scholarships. Is there anything you can speak on with the Vaiden program?
Yeah. So, and I had to take some notes on it. So
someone did his homework. I know, right? I like it.
So the Vaiden Scholarship, this is obviously established by the Hernando Rotary Club, started by Catherine C. Vaiden in memory of her husband, Leonard, in 1967. Did not realize it had been around that long. And it was a show of appreciation for Leonard's Rotary experience. And that's what you want, right? You want people to be a member of a club and not just be a member of it, but for it to have an impact on them. To maybe they want to leave a legacy like this. And so he did. They left a legacy. And she gave $50,000 to the Rotary Club to establish a scholarship in his name. And so we decided to invest the money to create a fund with the Community Foundation in 2005. Community Foundation is a wonderful organization to work with.
They were just here yesterday.
Yeah, great folks over there. Along with the Maddox Foundation, Community Foundation, along with the Maddox Foundation, agreed to a 25% match. Another $12,500 was used to create a Hernando Fund to provide grants for city projects. Recipients of the scholarship must be Hernando residents, either high school seniors or prospective college students who have never applied for the scholarship before. And we expanded that, I believe, to include kids that go to North Point but live in Hernando.
What's North Point? The
private school in South Haven.
Oh, okay.
And we have a downloadable app on the Community Foundation Northwest Mississippi's website. So that's the easiest way to access it if you're a prospective college student or senior to go in. And we get quite a few applications, and we have a committee that goes through those applications and then decides on, who we're going to fund.
Yeah, it's one student, right?
It's two.
Two?
Yeah.
Okay. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
These things help.
Yeah, and it's college money out there that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of. There's a lot of that out there, right? There's a lot of scholarship opportunities that people just don't know about, so the money just sits there.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've had good participation in this, but you could always have more.
I had Stacy in yesterday.
Yeah.
From the Community Foundation. By the time people are listening to our conversation 2 weeks ago, hers was published. So,
okay.
And that's something that we talked on is there's so many grants and scholarship opportunities out there, but it's just hard to find. It's confusing. So that's why I really wanted to speak on it because some of these things are hidden. Not without trying to spotlight them, that's what you guys are doing, but like you said, there's still people out there that have never heard of a Rotary Club.
Yeah.
So we're here to educate.
My parents didn't go to college, so that was a totally new experience for me and for them. And we didn't even know what the application process looked like or what to apply for funding or how to apply for it. So, the fact that we have another avenue for educational funding is, it's great to be a part of that and, something else we offer.
So let's continue with funding.
Yeah.
And there's ways of getting funded because of sponsors. And then there's ways of getting funded donations. Those are, the two most simplest things. Obviously, you put on events and everything. But what are some of the other ways that you raise funds and how can people get involved?
So we have dues that are due quarterly, and that really covers like administrative cost for the club and Rotary International, and then our food cost every Wednesday. Typically, the way we raise money, though, which we give out what we raise, right, like nonprofits do, has been mostly or only through Brewfest until this past spring under Will Brown's leadership, and John Stevenson, who's also a member, was vital in getting this together. But we had a golf tournament at the Hernando Golf and Racquet Club, and that created another pool of funds that we wanted to donate to folks in Hernando, and it has to align with our mission, right? So it's usually kids programs or nonprofits, anything in that space.
Mm-hmm. I was just trying to think of something here, brain fart. So can people just straight up donate anonymously? Here, no questions asked here. I just want to make a donation to the Rotary.
This is going to be a terrible answer. That's a great question. Probably, but I'm not sure, and I don't know that that's really happened since I've been probably.
Let's face it. Especially in Hernando, we're spotlight Hernando, very generous community.
Sure.
I got 8 businesses supporting this very podcast, and that says a lot. All right. Yeah. But it is not very common for people to just roll up with a check and just say, hey, unless there's like a disaster relief or something like that. But it's just interesting to know. And I'm trying to spotlight any ways that organizations can get funded.
Honestly, the best way would be to become a Rotarian, a little membership pitch.
Sure.
Become a Rotarian.
Well, how does that look? Let's talk about that. How does one become a member?
Great question. So we meet every Wednesday at the library, second floor. Come to a meeting. You can come as my guest. You can say I invited you virtually. Show up to a meeting, see if it fits, your schedule, your values. And if you think it does, we can get you an application. And within 2 to 3 meetings, you're a Rotarian.
Okay. Do you have to sit with a committee? Do you have like a new member committee?
So we do have a new member, or we actually have a membership committee that's kind of responsible for recruitment. But when it comes to like approving a new member, it's not very difficult. Really, just be a warm body that wants to participate in an organization. And we ask them to leave the room, and then we vote yay or nay and ask them to come back in. So far, nobody's been turned down.
I was going to say that
could be awkward.
That's pressure. You walk in. Sorry, man.
Yeah,
you didn't make the cut.
Just didn't like your handwriting. But it's pretty easy.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking for high character. Absolutely. That's all you can ask for. Someone that's really there with that servant's heart.
Absolutely. And
really cares. Then, okay. Yeah. What else can you really ask for?
Yeah.
And if they're there for a reason. Clearly, they're there because they are of the same mind and heart. So,
and weekly, you're going to get a good meal. You're going to be around great people, like-minded people that want to serve. You're probably going to learn something. I mean, I learned something still almost weekly. So it's not like you're just going to go somewhere and sit and not do anything and waste an hour. I do think there's a benefit coming to each meeting. And
there's a fun energy, camaraderie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to the spinning of the wheel.
Yeah.
And all these other little traditions that you do that add this like game element to it that it just makes it fun.
Yeah.
And everyone's giving more time out of their day. So as anyone that knows, when you start investing your time in organizations and committees and everything, your schedule gets busier.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah.
So it's extra work. It's hard work. So all these people that are part of all the Rotarians.
All the Rotarians,
God bless all of you.
Absolutely.
Because you meet every week and you're with the same cause to help.
Yeah, and it takes people to make an organization like Rotary or really any nonprofit run, right? Like volunteers are key, and capital, obviously. I mean, that's the biggest catalyst to make something successful. But we're really like everybody else, just looking for bodies and people whose values align with our organization.
Do you, when it comes to the Brewfest, is that something that people can volunteer to help with too?
Yeah, that's a great question. We wouldn't turn them down.
Sure.
We haven't had anybody, but we would love that. So we do have folks donate, like we have food donated and
sort of like a sponsoring kind.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have sponsors for Brewfest. We do. I forgot to mention that we do have a lot of sponsors, and all you got to do is look at a T-shirt or the big banner we put out, and it shows everybody that's sponsored.
You can sponsor a T-shirt.
Yeah. So you can sponsor the event, and that cuts down on our costs, which has more profit that we can give to the water wells in Honduras. And we've had a pretty good track record with having good sponsorship for the event. And again, you get something out of it, right? Not only do you feel good for what the money's going towards, but you get some marketing out of it too. Your logo goes on a T-shirt and a banner.
Yeah,
and I believe they go on the tickets, and the tickets are really nice. I mean, it's not like just a tearaway coupon ticket. It's usually a big ticket with the logo, the Brewfest logo, and then the sponsors on the bottom.
Yeah. That's what I love about sponsoring events, or that monetary relationship where, let's face it, the business is getting some marketing. I've sponsored things. I want my name out there.
Yeah.
But then, but you're doing it because you know where it's going, and that's and that's the best part.
Absolutely,
so it's a win-win for everyone. You can buy a radio ad. Okay, that's valuable and that does its thing.
Yeah.
But putting your name on a banner that's hanging over an event that's raising money for an organization that's donating that money to people that don't have water.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty easy to get behind that.
And you hit the nail on the head. Hernando's a very generous community. So we've had great sponsorship partners in the past. and I'm sure that'll keep happening. We're just really blessed living in a community that really has a servant's heart, honestly. Community that likes to give back, whether it's monetarily or through volunteer hours. So we've been real blessed and thankful for the sponsors that we've had.
And it's just a perfect size. You really can build relationships here.
Yeah.
By going to these events and joining clubs. But there's also such a rich economy here. Not rich meaning revenue, rich meaning just real quality mom and pop, small business entrepreneur spirit thriving here. I mean,
absolutely.
There's some high-end boutiques in town that are surviving, they're being supported, where you can just go down the street and go to Walmart and buy a belt that's half the price.
Yeah, right.
So this says a lot about Hernando.
Yeah.
To keep this commerce the way,
I think there is a focus in Hernando for local businesses, local events, local nonprofits, and that helps, right? Like you can give to a massive organization like Red Cross, and there's nothing wrong with that. But where is your donation going? And I've given to Red Cross too, so I'm okay with that. But I think a lot of people here like to see their money stay here. Mm-hmm. And that's one good thing. I know we mentioned the water wells in Honduras, which is not local, but everything else we do is hyper local.
Yeah. What I may have this backwards, but is it think global, act local?
Yeah.
Do I have that the right?
I think so.
Or is it act global, think local? I can't remember. But
point
being is if everyone took care of their neighbors, so to speak, then the world would be great.
Absolutely.
So you got to get granular like that, and each community needs to have its own little infrastructure. And again, to speak on Hernando, we have a Meals on Wheels. Obviously, we have a Chamber and Arts Council.
Yeah.
But the Meals on Wheels, the Rotary, we have Palmer Home.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't want to be missing any. There's so many out there that help Hernando.
Yeah.
They're here for Hernando.
It's easy to partner with a lot of different organizations because of the focus of the mission, that it's local. And you're right, there's abundance of that here in Hernando.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about some, general contact information. How can someone best reach the Rotary if they want to join, volunteer, anything that we talked about? They want to call the Rotary Club and speak to someone. How do they best do that?
Yeah, so Facebook, you can message through Facebook. There's a phone number listed on Facebook you can call. I don't know if I want to give my phone number out right here, but a
million people download this podcast.
Yeah, I know,
so
right?
Maybe.
But yeah, the easiest way, come to a meeting on a Wednesday at noon, or it shouldn't be that hard to find a Rotarian. So if you know somebody that's in Rotary, tag along. I try to invite people as much as I can, because that's how I ended up being a Rotarian, right? Somebody invited me, and that's kind of the story. That's how most people became Rotarians. It's because an existing Rotarian invited them. But yeah, I would say visit our Facebook page, and we've got a great social media team, so they're active. It's monitored, and there's a phone number on there to reach out if anybody's interested in becoming a member or partnering in some other way.
And I can give a personal testimonial. Like I mentioned, been there twice, had the opportunity to speak at one. Yeah. So I've really had an awesome, cool chance to experience the Rotary in a cool way, in perspective. The food's great. The energy's fun. You get that network time and just chilling out. And I can tell you guys see each other every week. So it's just catching up. Yeah. And then you see a speaker, and the one that I was just visiting, got to learn more about Hernando Meals on Wheels. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I didn't know Hernando had its own, but then I did. Yeah. So that worked.
Yeah. And the neat thing about our local chapter here in Hernando, which I think probably speaks to Hernando being such a great place to grow up that, people come back to, we have several members that are second, third generation Hernando Rotarians, including Will Brown, and Will may be a third generation.
Mm-hmm. Is his father still a member?
Yeah, his dad, Bill Brown, still an active member. And there's a few other examples, but to be such a transient place like Desoto County is, I'm a transplant myself, as are you. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find people that have that deeper roots, but we have several. And for somebody like me that's an outsider, that's invaluable because they've been here. They know the ropes. They know the history. They know the vision.
They've seen all the change.
Yeah. So it's cool to be around people that have experienced that.
Well, outstanding. Thanks again for doing this, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I'm glad we made it happen. It's good catching up again.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
You know, and again, if anyone's interested in learning more, go to the Facebook page. All the information is in there. Just search Hernando Rotary Club.
Yeah.
It'll pop right up.
And I will plug my phone number if anybody wants to reach out.
That's up to you.
870-315-5813. Text or call. I would be more than happy to have somebody as my guest or just give more information.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for being here. And to those watching and listening, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate your support in listening and patronizing this podcast. I want to take the opportunity now to thank our sponsors. Again, going back to the generosity of Hernando, these are local businesses that understand what this podcast is about and advertise with me. So we got Wesley Meadows, as I mentioned at the intro, and anyone that's watching, see their logo floating behind me. Gustafson Properties, 5M Services, Team Couch of Birch Realty, Wild Culture Sourdough, the DeSoto Arts Council, Brandon Vanderberg from Shelter Insurance, and Boba Cream. And a new one's coming. I'm not ready to announce that yet, but stay tuned. But thank you to all of you for making this happen. There's a big reason why I can have this studio now, where season 1, I had to take one little camera to the guest and record under, mysterious lighting that I never knew what I was going to get. But thank you for all the support. And just know that we can highlight people like Jeremy Hurst and the Rotary Club because of your support. And you can go to therealhernando.com to find all of our locations. This podcast is on video base on YouTube, Facebook, audio on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and all the other major platforms. Plus, we're on TikTok. And Instagram, therealhernando.com will get you all of that. So till next time, thanks again for being here, and you have a great day.